Hello students, tonight's homework is on understanding equivalent fractions. So we have learned that sometimes we can divide up, in this case we're using number lines as our models, in different ways, and we can still find fractions that show equivalent amounts. So here we have two number lines. They're both labeled with zeros on the left and ones on the right. So each one represents one whole broken into equal parts. In this case, this top number line is broken into 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. And that's why on the bottom of each of these fractions on the denominator, it's got a 4, because the 4 is always the total number of pieces. The denominator is always the total number of pieces. In this case, that's 4. And then on the top, they've labeled the number of pieces along the number line that part represents. So here there's 1 of the 4 parts, 2 of the 4 parts, 3 of the 4 parts, and they didn't label it, but this 1 is really 4 of the 4 parts. And we've talked a lot about how 1 is equal to a fraction that has the same number on the numerator and the denominator. So in this case, the 1 is equal to 4 over 4 on that top fraction. Now, the bottom fraction has been broken into 8 pieces. I know that because I can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces between 0 and 1. And that's why in these fractions, they've put on the denominator an 8. And then the numerator on the top just represents the number that they've counted, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that should be pretty much a review. Now when we start to talk about equivalent fractions, we're looking at, in this case, they want us to look at where 1/4, and how is that equivalent to the number line that's divided into 8 pieces? Well, if we look here, we see that right in line with the 1/4 is the 2 over 8. So 2 of 8 pieces is the same as 1 over 4 pieces, 1 out of 4 pieces. For number 2, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find where 4/8 is on the number line. Where does it line up when we look up at the number line divided into 4s? And we're going to write that fraction here. So it's just a matter of seeing what fractions line up and show the same amount, the same fraction, despite the fact that their denominators are different. Now down below that in set B, it says look at the fractions shown by the shaded circles and write equivalent fractions for the shaded parts. So here you are going to count how many parts does this fraction have, how many are shaded, and then on the right you're going to do the same for how many total parts does that circle have, how many of those parts are shaded. So you're going to have 2 different fractions, one representing this circle, one representing this one, and you will write those as equivalent fractions just like you did up here for number 1. I hope that is helpful. Have fun tonight.